Hello guys and welcome to Moving Data Technology. I'm Ifoma. In today's class, I'll be teaching you guys introduction to SQL. I believe in this introductory class, it will help you build your background knowledge and also guide you towards practicing and working with SQL. Without wasting much of your time, let's look at the subtopics we'll be treating today. What is SQL? What does SQL stand for? We're looking at data and database management system and types of database management system. We'll be looking at components and concepts of relational database, SQL commands, syntax and structures of SQL statements. We're looking at data types and operators, benefits and application of SQL. What does SQL stands for? SQL is an acronym which stands for Structural Query Language. S stands for structure, which means that SQL has its format. Q stands for query, which means that SQL has to be queried in order to retrieve specific information. L stands for language, which means that SQL has its own language you have to understand. For example, going to a foreign country and you don't understand their language, it becomes difficult for you to communicate, meaning that SQL is a language used to read, write data from, and to database. SQL is also known as SQL. The real definition of SQL means that SQL is a data sub-language used for managing and manipulating relational database, which was introduced by IBM in 1970s and used to communicate with database. Primarily, SQL is used for tasks such as querying the database in order to retrieve specific information, also to insert, update, delete records. SQL is widely used in database management systems such as MySQL, Oracle Database, Microsoft SQL Server, PostgreSQL, and SQLite. What is data and database? Database is like a container or a warehouse where we store data. What is data? Data are raw facts, which are a combination of attributes and objects. Data could be numerical or alphabetical in nature. Our daily activities revolves around data. Whenever we visit Facebook or Instagram, data is being collected and stored somewhere called a database. Therefore, database involves in a process of data being collected and stored in a format that can easily be accessed and managed by a DBMS. What is DBMS? It is a software that allows us to store, manage, query, and retrieve data stored in a relational or a non-relational database. Non-relational database and a relational database are the two types of database we have. An example of a non-relational database is known as Mango database, which have a dynamic schema but non-relational in nature. It does not understand SQL language, but a relational database is relational in nature. It has a predefined schemas and it understands SQL language. And an example of it is MySQL. MySQL is the most popular and commonly used database. Let's look at the components and concept of a relational database. We are talking about the MySQL database now. The components include table, rows, columns, primary keys, foreign keys, and relationship. 6 components. Let's look into them one after the other. A table is a fundamental component of a relational database. It represents a collection of related data organized into rows and columns. Let's look at role. A role is also called a record, which represents a single instance or entry in a table. Let's look at column. Column is also known as field. It defines attributes or properties of a data stored in a table. Let's look at primary key. A primary key is a column or a combination of columns that uniquely identifies each row in a table. What of foreign key? A foreign key establishes a relationship between two tables. It is a column in one table that refers to the primary key in another table. Let's look at relationship. Relationship defines how tables are related to each other in a database. Now let's move into commands of SQL. The SQL commands are responsible for creating and manipulating database table in SQL. We have 4 types of commands, which includes data definition language, which is known as the DDL. We have the data manipulation language, which is known as the DML. We have the data control language, which is known as the DCL. We have the transaction control language, which is known as the TCL. DDL involves the creation of data. It is used for creating the entire database. Let's look at the DML. DML allows us to manipulate the data in a table of a database. Let's look at DCL. DCL is used by administrators for assigning and removal of permission to use the database. Let's look at TCL. It is used by database administrators too for saving and restoring changes to a database. Now let's move into syntax and structures of SQL statements. SQL statements have specific syntax and structures that must be followed in order to have a successful execution. 1. Keywords. SQL statement begins with keywords that indicate the type of operation to be performed. Commonly used ones are select, insert, updates. Let's look at clause. SQL consists of various clauses that provide additional instructions or conditions for the operation to be performed. Let's look at expression. SQL statement often involves expressions, which are calculations or comparison performed on data. Expression could be arithmetic operations or logical operations. Let's look at comments. SQL allows adding comments to improve code readability and provide explanation. Comments are not executed as part of SQL statements and are denoted by specific symbols depending on the database you're using. Let's look at termination. SQL statements are terminated by semicolons to indicate the end of a statement. Now let's move into data types. We have different types of data types. Data types plays a crucial role in defining and manipulating our data. The first type of data we have is the numeric data type, which consists of integers, which are whole number. We have the decimals, example of it, 2.5, 3.5. We have the float, we have double precisions. Let's look at the character string type. It involves text, words. We have the char, we have the varchar. Let's look at the date and time data type, which involves the date data type, time data type. We also have the timestamp, which represents date and time value. We also have the booleans, which represent the true or false value. We have the binary types, and we have other types such as JSON, array. Now let's move into the operators of SQL. We have different kinds of operators. The first one is arithmetic operators, which I know is commonly used. We have the addition, the subtraction, the multiplication, the division. 2, let's look at the comparison operators. The equal sign, less than, greater than, less than or equals to. Let's look at the logical operators, which are 3. The or, not, and. Let's look at the string operators. We have the concatenate, we have the like, we have the in, we have the between. Let's look at these aggregate functions, which includes count, sum, average, mean, max. Now let's move into the benefits and application of SQL. SQL offers several benefits and has a wide range of applications, which includes 1. Data management. SQL provides a powerful set of tools for managing and manipulating data in a relational database. Secondly, data retrieval. SQL is primarily used for querying database and specifically retrieving informations. 3. Database administration. SQL is widely used by database administrators all over for tasks such as creating and managing database schemas, users access control, security management, backup and recovery operations. Let's look at 4. Database integration. SQL allows for seamless integration with various programming language and frameworks. 5. Business intelligence and data analysis. SQL plays a vital role in business intelligence and data analysis. It enables users to query large volumes of data and perform aggregate calculation and metrics. We've come to the end of this introductory part. In our next class, I will introduce us to the interface of MySQL Workbench, because it is the MySQL Workbench that we use to do the practical of this theory we've just done. So this is what the interface looks like. You see it, welcome to MySQL Workbench. Then this is the pure interface. In our next class, we will move into mastering the interface of MySQL. Thank you for watching this video. Bye.